need to be able to see more of myself. Is that good?
It's pretty awkward.
All right, you read the title of the video. You already know what's going on. To help us get through this stack of za, I've summoned the big guns. Let's welcome in our pizza expert, Chef Leo Spizzirri. What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
Welcome.
Thanks, brother.
Why don't you tell the cam a little bit more about your experience, what you do, who you are?
So I'm Leo Spizzirri. I'm a master instructor. I'm the ambassador to the United States for the Associazione Verace Pizza Napolitana, which is basically the governing agency for all the Neapolitan pizza in the entire world. I live and breathe pizza. And I eat pizza. You could tell, like, you don't get a physique like this not eating a few pies, right?
Yeah. All right, so what we're doing here is we're gonna taste a bunch of different styles of pizza. I literally drove like all over the city to pick all these pizzas up, and we're gonna taste them kind of one by one, not to pit them against each other head to head, because that seems a little subjective, a little unfair maybe, you know, because like deep dish is so much different than like, you know, Detroit or New York. Kind of what I thought we would do is we would taste each pie, judging them not against each other, but kind of which is the best representation of the style that it's supposed to be.
I like it.
You dig?
Dig it.
A little more fair, you know?
Yeah, that's it. So this is your classic traditional Neapolitan pizza. I think that the thing that's most important to understand about this is that this is probably, out of all the styles we're gonna try today, the one that probably travels the least.
Yeah.
Because it's baked at 900 degrees in under 90 seconds, really intense heat, it doesn't do well in a pizza box. This is why we helped it along, adding a little bit of basil to it.
Right.
But this style, again, is a style that is made without refrigeration. So it's made the day before, usually within 24 hours.
The dough is never refrigerated.
Never refrigerated. It's allowed to sit out and naturally ferment all day, overnight, until it's actually ready to use. A little bit lighter on the bottom, but you see that leoparding on the bottom as well.
So that char factor is definitely gonna play a point because these are wood-fired ovens.
That's right.
Hot and fast.
That's right.
How long did you say it takes?
Under 90 seconds,
Under
but an
90 seconds.
experienced oven guy, or they call him the fornaio. Sometimes we end up exceeding 1,000, 1,100 degrees on that oven. So this pizza could potentially bake in 60 to 65 seconds on a busy night.
So what are we looking for in the best of the best
The best of the best Neapolitan pizza should
best of the best Neapolitan pizza?
It should taste, the dough should taste, or the crust should taste like fresh baked bread.
Okay.
The tomatoes should taste like a fresh, beautiful tomato that came out of the garden in August, right?
This thing is all about freshness.
Yes, the ingredients are individually going to be a part of the total pizza. So nothing should be overwhelming to another.
That perfect marriage.
Exactly right.
Yeah, should we try it?
Let's do it.
Oh, nice.
So,
Jeez, a fold, huh?
I still fold. Classic Neapolitan. It's not a crispy pizza.
No, I like that though, because it is crispy up here. It's got the contrast, you know?
Yep. Slightly chewy. You taste a little bit of that char.
Okay.
It's 90-second bakes. You're never really going to get smokiness from the wood-fired oven. But again, you could tell where that intense heat went, and then those blistering on the edge is where you're getting some of that crackle.
Yeah. On a rating scale of 1 out of 5, how true to style is this pizza?
I'm actually going to give this one a 5 because
Starting strong.
Yeah, because I think that if you were to go to Naples, Italy today, you would find this typically on the streets of Naples without a doubt.
It is like the same thing.
Exactly. You would
style.
find this true to style. It's exactly that.
Right on. Cool. All right, next up, the Roman pie.
So this is a classic example of what's called pizza al taglio. Taglio referring to the cut.
Yeah, they use scissors.
Exactly
That's
right.
Crazy.
So when you go to a Roman shop, right, the style is baked in a pan, which is called in teglia. Teglia is the pan. Al taglio refers to a cut. Because in Rome, this would get sold to you by weight. They would cut it, pop it back into the oven, and you would eat it or take it to go. This style, 100%, is all about the dough, right?
Yeah.
High hydration, meaning there's lots of water in this. 85 to 90% water compared to the amount of flour. This dough takes 96 hours or 4 days to make in the entire process, right? This particular one is a very famous baker from Rome named Gabriele Banci. We're lucky to have this here because unless you go and fly back to Rome to have this at his restaurant there, that's the only way to have it.
So we got these long rectangular cuts. Should we cut it one more time?
Go ahead, cut it.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
This would be our classic margarita. Margarita referring to a pizza with tomato sauce and mozzarella and basil.
Cool, let's hit it.
I'm gonna hit the same slices you just had here too. We'll get involved.
It looks like crispier than I would have thought it would be. Look at that bottom.
Let's do it. Salud. You can taste the wheat.
Oh,
you taste the
right
flavor
off
of the
the bat.
fermentation. Really beautiful job on this crust. If you look really closely, you can see the specks of the brand that are inside of it.
Oh, totally.
Everything that we're looking for. Just like, again, fresh baked bread.
Okay, Leo, rating time. How true to style
I'm
is the Roman?
gonna say that I'm gonna give this a 5 because
5 out of
again,
5 back to
this
back.
is a very traditional style, and again, there's not many places that you can get this pizza. We're very lucky to be here in Chicago to have this Roman style all the way. I love it.
Hell yeah. Grandma style. This is a pretty unique style that's kind of adjacent to, would you say, Sicilian and Roman?
Yeah,
so
there's
the same family tree.
2 pan pizzas coming out of New York. You see the Sicilian or the grandma.
Yeah.
The difference being the amount of dough in the pan.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's the same dough. Can't really talk about the burrows. Sometimes it's a protected secret. Guys will take
makes
off
sense.
like the labels that are tomato cans before they throw them in the dumpster.
Why is it called grandma pizza?
Because this style goes back to like the way that your grandma would have made this at home, right? Pushing it into the pan. Notice how like the edge here is a little bit higher than the corners, right? So like when your grandma might have made this, or my grandma, for example, would have woken up maybe on a Sunday morning, made some dough, pushed it into the pan. It never would have maybe really gone all the way to the edges. So that's why you see this style looking like this. And you could hear that crunch. As beautiful as this is, I would say that my grandma's never looked like this because my grandma never had any skill. This is obviously somebody who had more skill that went into making this pizza. Beautiful.
Dude, look at that crumb.
I think you said it perfectly. Very focaccia-like, right? Very light and airy, open, not doughy. Very different than I would have seen for a grandma. Like
Artisanal grandma.
This is definitely, I think that's the perfect way to say it.
Artisanal grandma.
Very artisan.
It's like if your grandma was an art kid, this would be like the pizza she made. What do you call these little cherry things?
Fresh mozzarella is called fior di latte, but you call them ciliegini.
Ciliegini.
Ciliegini refers to the way you say cherry in Italian.
Ciliegini.
Ciliegini.
Italian's gotta be like top 3 most fun languages to try to say. Because it's so doable, and it feels good to come out.
I say all the time, I love being Italian.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being anything else.
Yeah, it's sick. You guys get to be like 10, have dope food, be like passionate. You get to have this is like your thing. Well, what do I got, Lockies? All right, we have to rate it 1 out of 5. True to grandma style, what do we think?
Now, this is one of those styles that really comes back to pizza really being such a personal thing, right? It's what you really like. I'm gonna give this, even though this is very, very well made, I'm gonna give this a 4 in what I think this does true to style, just because it is so artisan. It's very, very well made, but again, I think that it's too well made.
Yeah.
Because my grandma, it was more doughy than this. It was just a little less done.
Yeah.
More where it was really just what was ever in the refrigerator.
Right, yeah.
And again, I think this is really well made. I just think that, again, the way that I would do this style is more close to what my grandma actually did.
Hell yeah. Okay, D-style P, Detroit style pizza. I have some experience with this one.
So Detroit is pretty easy. I mean, this is really just like, you know, a focaccia dough, if you will, risen in a pan, topped with cheese, and baked. Legend has it, this was made, you know, somebody working in one of the car lines found a pan inside a factory was in Detroit on one of the major car lines. The pan was used to throw nuts and bolts in on the line, and was made of this heavy steel. Guy figured, hey, you know, my mom could probably use this for something. Took it home, they cleaned it, and she started making pizzas out of it. Next thing you know, he's building an empire. The place was called Buddy's Rendezvous. Turned into the original Buddy's that you see there today. And I don't know, can we talk about that?
No, we can.
So cut that off.
I just, Buddies, dude, #1.
As the pizza was created inside of that pan, the cheese would melt to the side and it would create what's called this frico crust and caramelize. In Italy, you have a few pan styles.
Yeah.
The Sicilian comes actually from southern Italy, right? The Roman has a pan style in that pizza in teglia. Once they all transferred over here, it became one of those styles that did really well and continued to evolve because it's baked at a lower temperature. Most ovens could bake a pan pizza really well.
Yeah.
It's baked with really a bread dough, focaccia-like, think of that. And then you can use everyday cheese. You don't need anything special to do it. So execution-wise, it's really easy to pull off. Normally, on a traditional Detroit-style pizza, the pizza would always be finished with sauce post-bake.
Sauce.
Is that supposed to go on now? Okay. So this is actually a great segue. So this sauce is always done as a cooked sauce. And then a nice little, there you go, maybe some Parmesan cheese, maybe a little pinch of pecorino. And this is your classic Detroit pizza all day long.
Should we dig in?
Let's do it, man.
All
Cut
right,
it.
I'm gonna cut this thing up. What do you think, quarters?
This is such a beautiful crust on the inside. Really artisan looking, really well raised. You can see that this is not your typical Detroit crust on the inside.
Right.
This is something definitely
And look at the bottom as well.
Look, I'm gonna do this old school. Like
Hell yeah,
I've had
baby.
plenty of 2 a.m.s in front of the sink with a beer in my hand, so salute. So beautiful. I would say that this is probably at the top of its game. Like when you consider somebody at an artisan level, the amount of time that went into making the dough itself and all the different layers to this, I think that this hits all the marks.
Yeah.
Now, same thing like we had the grandma pizza. Would we say that this is traditional? In my rating, I would probably say the same thing. I would give this probably a 4
Gotcha.
because
For the same reasons.
for the same exact reason. I think that this is too well done because if you were to go to Detroit today, this crust would be more compact. It would be, again, more of that homemade artisan style, something that came either out of somebody's home kitchen or maybe even something out of a bar. Really awesome pizza, though. I'm gonna finish this.
Hell yeah. Cheers.
Salute. Salute, guys.
God, you need that. I don't know why didn't I do this earlier?
If you would have told me I would have brought case, man, we were already half in it back.
All right. The New York. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pizza.
This is definitely that look.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for New York pizza.
I feel.
You know, this is a really classic pizza. The look of this, you're gonna do exactly what I thought you were gonna do. It's gonna have that little bit of flop in the front, you know?
And it's not a bad flop.
Let me ask you this. What do you call this pizza right now?
A cheese pie, like a cheese pizza.
Yeah, so it's not. So in New York, you would order this as a regular.
Just a regular.
Yeah.
You say regular?
Regular pizza.
Okay.
Right? Because
okay.
it's taken for granted it's gonna have cheese and sauce.
Those East Coast guys, man.
Right? This is Zaza, right?
Yeah,
Zaza.
yep, Zaza.
So what they do on this pizza is that they brush their crust, I think, with a little bit of oil or something on it, right? So this is always going to have a little more of an artisan look to it, where it's a little darker in appearance. Classic New York would be the fold. My only complaint is that when you go to New York and you have a regular slice or a cheese slice, salud. A cheese slice to me should always have that little bit of oil that just drips down your arm, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that these guys did a really nice job baking this pizza.
So, hey, you want some of the oil
yeah,
drip?
give me a little shot.
A little shot right there?
Yeah, boy.
All right, some there. Let's get that drip.
Salud. I love this pizza. This is great.
Zazas. All right, we gotta do the thing.
My rating on this one, this is hard because I dinged a couple guys for being artisan and not staying true to the style. This really is true to the style, and all the components are here. I'm gonna give this a 5 because I think that this is true to what we're seeing in New York. If you were to go today and get a slice,
Heck yeah, it's good to know that we still have quality New York style pizza here in Chicago.
absolutely.
Hey, we can live in unison. You know what I mean? It doesn't gotta be this big city versus big city thing. Okay, New Haven Beats, as I learned when I did a little bit of research on this last year. A-P-I-Z-Z-A.
Yeah, a pizza.
Yeah.
Beats.
Beats.
Right. It's again that kind of slang, you know, immigrants came to the country and they kind of slurred everything together. Broken English, abits is what we say. This is 100% a classic New Haven pizza in the fact that this is the historic white clam pie. The pizza that came from Napoli, right, immigrated to the United States. And the closest oven that was here was something that came from the bread world in the coal oven. They created this hybrid. They stretched the dough much thinner, baking this pizza similar timing, right?
So it bakes quick.
Very, very quick.
You're talking 90 seconds?
Yeah, well, probably closer, depending on the toppings. You probably have a couple minute bake.
It's a bigger pizza too.
Very traditionally, when you see all of those pizzas in New Haven, you're gonna see a charred edge, very charred.
Like black.
Where here, you see this like perfect golden brown crust.
Totally. From documentaries I've seen and other things, like it's like supposed to be like a very important aspect of New Haven style pizza, right? Like the char, the black, the coal oven flavor, that fired flavor.
Considering we're talking about pizzerias that are dating back, you know, now close to, you know, nearly 100 years. So it is pretty important. The lemon wedges,
the slicing, the uneven, look at this piece right here compared to this little wedge compared to this one.
Do you know why that is?
No.
This gets put onto a rectangular board for a pizza peel, right? So that pizza peel being a rectangular board, think of this being the shape that that dough is stretched to. Then it goes into the oven and it stays this shape, square.
It is kind of square, isn't it?
Right. So when it comes out of the oven, it goes into a full sheet pan. So when it gets cut into that sheet pan, it's literally, if you look where the corners are at, it's cut corner to corner, and then it's finished all the slices.
Look at that.
So that's why those slices look the way they do.
All right, some lemon juice over the top. I'm gonna go for like the little guy. I kind of like this like narrow piece.
You go with the little one, I'll go with the big one. How about that?
Well, now I feel inadequate.
You gotta love clams.
That perfect little burst of salinity and that meatiness.
Without knowing too much about this, because I've never had this pizza before, this is the first time I'm eating it. This looks like it's a beautifully made pizza, beautiful dough, but I will say that this is a replication of a style. But would I say that it's true to the style? If I had to grade this, I'd probably say that this is a 3.
Say right now though a 3, it'd be a tasty 3.
I would eat the heck out of this.
Now we got the thin crust. We're moving into the Chicago pizza territory. Your specialty.
This has 2 different names. Sometimes we hear this referred to as a tavern style. Other times we hear it referred to as a cracker crust. Tavern usually is slightly thicker than the cracker, right? These both come 100% of the bar world. That's what they call a tavern. The idea being is that you're gonna have a slice of pizza in your hand and a beer in the other. Why? It was like genius marketing of the day. They're gonna give you at the bar a salty pizza slice, right? And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna drink more beer. Why we cut slices of pizza in squares here in Chicago, it's 100% because of that. It's so that we could hold that slice on a cocktail napkin while we're holding our beer. Back in the day, we used to have a pizza, we used to call it the Chicago Smog. Sausage, mushroom, onion, green pepper. And then we talked about cup and char pepperoni earlier. This actually has cup and char sausage.
I've never seen this before.
On top here. Cool. We have some garlic on here as well. And then those are what they call the dollops. This definitely is a higher end gourmet tavern cracker style pizza, right? Sure. I'm already salivating, like trying to think of what this is even gonna taste like. This is already, I know it's gonna be amazing. The most classic piece, the one in my house.
Can I say what I want?
Sure, go ahead.
Corner adjacent.
That piece?
Yeah.
I
like that exact location.
In my house, it's always these 4 that we fight over first, right? Okay. Once these 4 are gone, then it's that slice. I guess. Right?
Yeah, I should have prefaced. My girlfriend and I, we have the same issue here.
So
hit the minis.
Salud. Hit the mini. I like that. How did you swallow that fast?
I don't know. I'm like
You inhaled it.
Problems.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have problems.
That bite of that cornmeal on the bottom of this, you can see how fermented this dough is. Look at all those little bubbles. I love this. This is a really awesome pizza, and I think that this really shows the evolution or the renaissance that's happening with this style right now. Traditionally, If I had to call this out as flavor profile, man, this is a 5. It was amazing in flavor. What's traditional as far as what I grew up in, a place that might be out there 50, 60 years, and there's a lot of those still around in Chicago, those really historic places, I would say that this probably runs into maybe a 3 as far as what a traditional tavern style pizza should be. This pizza is done really, really well.
Entering big boy territory with the Chicago stuffed pizza.
This is our Chicago Belly Buster, and it's known as that for a reason. This is the one that we get all of the national acclaim for. Jimmy, who was it? Not a Jimmy Fallon.
The above ground poll comment. I thought that was brilliant.
It's not pizza.
This is the famous Chicago stuffed pizza, right? This is kind of cool because, again, this is one of those pizzas that we say has origins back into southern Italy. In Napoli, there's a version of this that's stuffed with eggs and cheese and all this that we eat around Easter. The story goes that this came over, the eggs and everything were removed, and this was born. Now, a lot of people think that this Giordanos was the first. This wasn't the first. Nancy and Rocco Palese that started a place called Nancy's, and there's a lot of history behind this, but the stuffed pizza is not deep dish. Very different.
That's important.
It is very important because the stuffed pizza is baked like a pie, just like the Easter pizzas that I just mentioned to you. So what happens is this base of dough is laid into a pan, a heavy steel pan with usually margarine in the bottom. Then this dough hangs over the edge. There's a lot of mozzarella that sits inside of this pan.
How much is a lot? How many pounds?
A 12-inch pizza like this probably has 2 to 3 pounds of mozzarella. There's another layer of dough that gets pressed in. The dough gets crimped along the edges, and then the sauce gets put in. Once the sauce is in, a knife is used to cut around the edge. That's why this edge looks so beautiful and clean like this. Now, to me, of the two styles, this is probably the most beautiful because it's so beautiful, even colored, flaky. Should we cut it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's chop this thing down.
Let's do it.
Lumberjack style. All right, we're at 1.5 feet. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But salud. I probably eat this pizza 2-3 times a year. Visitors, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Every time I eat this pizza, the first thing in my mind is that first bite on the bottom is flaky. Yes, is this extravagant? Is there a lot of cheese in here? Yes. Is there a lot of sauce on here? Yes. No matter where you go, stuffed pizza is always in this ballpark. We saw variations of other styles, but the one thing you don't really ever have variations of, just like the Neapolitan, right, is really, there's really not a lot of variations of this. When we get to deep dish, that's a whole nother story.
We'll get
but
there soon.
for the stuffed pizza though, there's really not a lot that we ever really see happen to this. In my opinion, if I'm gonna give this a rating, this all day long is a 5.
I don't think there's any more quintessential stuffed pizza besides the pizza from Giordanos when it comes to stuffed.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, the granddaddy, the Chicago famous deep dish.
I love the steam coming off of this
I know,
one.
it's so epic.
First of all, you can see the difference in the thickness, right? This dough is pressed into the inside of the pan, and then you have a layer of mozzarella, which is sliced. This is not shredded mozzarella inside of here. All the toppings would get pressed on top of the mozzarella, and then the tomato sauce is spread on top of that. Knowing this Lou Malnati's pizza, their claim is that you shouldn't need a knife and fork. You should just be able to grab a slice the way it is. I think though, for a deep dish pizza, this is classic.
Look at that, perfectly even.
Get you a protractor. So again, going back to this, you know what this is supposed to look like? This isn't that big, large cheese pull.
Yeah.
You can see the texture. Again, this is gonna sit more rigid. This is a very historic family, and when we talk about the evolution of this style, where it started and where they ended up here, again, this family is very historic when it comes to Chicago deep dish pizza. When you say deep dish, this is the first thing that I think of.
I always like the thin crust stuff. The deep dish, not my favorite, but with age, it's grown on me.
That's it. All day long.
Such a distinct taste. I don't care where you get deep dish. Like, this is not a Lou's commercial, by the way. Like I said, when I was little, I didn't even like Lou's. It's got this crazy distinct taste that, like, it's just nostalgic. It makes me feel like.
And to me,
You know,
it's
home
if
kind
you
of-
look at the bottom of this, right? By hand, somebody's fingers took that dough and pressed that into the pan. And that's how it gets done.
Out of 5.
Out of
rated
5.
deep dish, what do you think?
If I had to rate this, again, this is gonna be that historic, traditional deep dish pizza. I would rate this a 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
It all started here, and this is where it continues to go into the future. But if you're gonna call out deep dish, this is what it's supposed to look like.
All right, baby. All right, that was quite the pizza adventure.
A little louder, higher energy.
Higher energy.
Not that loud.
I know, I'm gonna have to psych myself out, all right? All right, that was quite the pizza adventure. But the question that I'm wondering, and I bet everybody else is wondering too, if we had to take home one of these pizzas, which one would it be?
Obviously, I'd probably say first and foremost, I would take that Neapolitan pizza hands down.
Okay.
But I would say if I had to take a second one, it would be very close to say that New York pizza.
The New York pizza, okay, cool.
What about you?
What about me? I'm gonna have to say, I really like New Haven style. I think to me, it itches my craving for that New York that I also love, but there's also kind of like this other element of it being kind of having this like the special char on it, you know, when it's kind of like properly done and stuff. And then also I just love that clam lemon white pizza combo. That's
that was good.
Like for as far as pizza toppings go, if it's not gonna be my next one, then I want that. My next one, I'm gonna preface this, you need to have a beer in hand. I need that Tavern. I need that.
Yeah, it was
I
good.
need those crispy squares. I need a cold beer, and I want to just crush, you know, basically get to around 10 and then lose count, and then start drinking beer, then get a new beer. I just feel like that's what I want. That's how I want to crush pizza.
I'm from the same place, so I agree with you too on that
Yeah.
one too. So we didn't put beer in the equation, but I still will stick with my originals.
All
But
right. All right, man, Leo. Well, thank you so much for coming out. We learned a lot today. We appreciate you.
give me a call if you need me, bro.
No doubt. You know I will. You guys gotta go check Leo out. He's the man. I'll leave his socials below. He knows a lot about pizza. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. If you're not new here, hello again. Best way to support us is over on the Patreon, so go hit that up. We would really appreciate it. And let us know in the comments below, what is your favorite pizza style? It doesn't have to be from this video. That's all I got for you, and until next time, ciao.